Even the most unusual things of common sense are called censor studium. President Trump allegedly ordered the Department of Defense to secretly use military force against Latin American drug cartels. The New York Times reported this, and there are reports of United States military movements. Let's take a closer look at this topic today. According to the New York Times report, President Trump of the United States has ordered the use of military force against the Central and South American drug cartels that have been designated as terrorist organizations. A New York Times report says President Trump's recent order signals a tougher crackdown on drug trafficking, directing the military to arrest or kill those involved in smuggling. White House Deputy Press Secretary Ina Kelly told the New York Times that President Trump's top priority is protecting the homeland, which is why he designated cartels and gangs as foreign terrorist organizations. President Trump sent the National Guard and active duty soldiers to the southwestern border this year to stop drugs and immigrants. This has been somewhat effective. After returning as president in January 2025, President Trump ordered the State Department to label drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. In February 2025, the United States State Department labeled several drug cartels as terrorist organizations. They explained the cartels are a bigger national security threat than traditional organized crime. What's interesting is this. The Trump administration is focusing on Venezuela, adding several Venezuelan drug cartels to the global terrorist list. The State Department alleged that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and top officials lead drug cartels. The United States administration has even labeled President Maduro as the boss of the cartel, stating that he will not be able to escape the judgment of the court and will have to take responsibility for his heinous crimes. Given the situation, the United States may consider a full regime change in Venezuela. As everyone knows, Venezuela is the most representative anti-American country in South America. Relations with the United States have been cold for decades, and especially Venezuela has solidified its anti-American stance by defining the United States as an imperialist invader. In response, the United States has already imposed strong economic sanctions on high-ranking Venezuelan intelligence officials and key industries. Venezuela is also known for detaining American citizens. They have held American citizens for long periods on charges like smuggling military equipment, espionage, and political agitation, drawing international criticism of Venezuela for political hostage diplomacy. For the United States government, this is an issue of national pride and a strategic inconvenience. Furthermore, in the United States diplomatic and security strategy, South America is regarded as a strategic backyard and a security buffer zone. In particular, for the United States, the very existence of regimes right to its south that follow pro-China and pro-Russia policies is considered a mid to long-term security threat. Venezuela maintains close relations with China, Russia, and Iran, and is expanding military and economic cooperation with them. This is interpreted as a direct encroachment on the traditional sphere of influence of the United States. Though the Trump administration cited cracking down on drug cartels in Central and South America, some believe the true political and military aim was regime change in Venezuela. In particular, the move to designate the drug trafficking organization involving high-ranking members of the Venezuelan military regime, known as the Cartel of the Suns, as a global terrorist group is interpreted not as a simple crackdown on crime, but as a signal of a strategic strike directly targeting the core of the regime. In the past, the United States intervened militarily in countries like Panama, Grenada, and Haiti under the pretext of cracking down on drugs or protecting human rights, but in many cases the real objective was regime collapse and the establishment of pro-American governments. Because of these historical precedents, international analysts believe that the Trump administration's current moves are also likely to be a prelude to a regime change operation disguised as a war on drugs. Venezuela isn't just associated with drug cartels, it's also a political and ideological challenge the United States aims to remove long term. This is why talk of military intervention is viewed as having deeper motives than just fighting crime. In fact, the United States has sometimes deployed its military to crack down on drug cartels in Central and South America. In 1989, during the Panama invasion, the United States sent over 20,000 troops to arrest dictator Manuel Noriega, who was indicted on drug trafficking charges. In the 1990s, the United States military aided drug enforcement in Colombia and Peru by sharing info on civilian planes suspected of drug transport, with the United States Navy also helped seize vessels in international waters suspected of smuggling drugs into the United States. These cases show the United States views drugs as both a crime and a national security issue. A recent Reuters report says the United States has deployed more equipment to strengthen its crackdown on drug cartels. Reports say military assets like several P-8 reconnaissance planes, at least one warship, and one attack submarine will be included. Reuters reports they plan operations in international airspace and waters. If decided, they may try targeted strikes. On top of that, the United States has also used drones to conduct reconnaissance inside Mexico. It is reported that an American drone operated in the skies over Valle de Bravo, which is about a 2-hour drive from Mexico City, the capital of Mexico. It was clarified that the United States acted with the Mexican government's permission as part of bilateral cooperation, not unilaterally. Judging by the movements of the United States military, it seems as if they are considering deploying military force at any moment. Because of this, Mexico has also taken direct action. At first, Mexico refused United States military activities within its own country, stating that it rejects any kind of invasion. On August 14th, Mexico extradited 26 inmates, including the Boyac cartel leader, to the United States. All 26 inmates were wanted by United States authorities for Boyac trafficking and related crimes. But they were sent to the United States, right? According to authorities, in the process of sending Mexico's Boyac cartel members to the United States, 1,000 law enforcement personnel, 90 vehicles, and 12 excavators were deployed. Mexico stressed that deportation was its sovereign decision. However, according to an analysis by Reuters, Mexico sending Boyac cartel members to the United States appears to be an attempt to appease President Trump and to avoid unilateral military intervention by the United States in Mexico. Using United States military force against the Boyac cartel in Central and South America is highly controversial. Boyac keeps entering the United States, and to stop it, they must fully eliminate the Boyac cartel in Central and South America. However, there are concerns that deploying military force for this purpose could cause a major backlash. Even if a major Boyac cartel is dismantled, without addressing root causes in those countries, there's concern smaller Boyac cartels will emerge and more Boyac could enter the United States. This has happened in Mexico before, so any military force must be used very cautiously. Another concern is that anti-American sentiment in Central and South America is largely due to repeated United States interference and manipulation. The United States sent troops to Cuba 3 times, claiming to protect American property, and occupied Haiti to set up a pro-American government. The United States also occupied the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Honduras. During the Cold War, the United States backed coups ousting elected leaders in Guatemala, Brazil, and Chile, and directly invaded the Dominican Republic and Grenada. This has caused some anti-American sentiment in the Americas. If President Trump uses military force against Central and South American countries over drug cartels, this sentiment could intensify. Several Central and South American countries are protesting, so we need to reconsider these issues. However, the United States can't ignore the drug cartels, so we'll have to see what America decides. If the Trump administration launches a military operation, the effects could reach beyond Central and South America. First of all, countries like Venezuela and Mexico will obviously strongly oppose and are likely to deploy their own troops to the border areas. Furthermore, it's highly likely that Russia and China will openly support Venezuela or expand military intelligence cooperation, causing the flames of a new Cold War to spread even in Central and South America. The international community will likely face tough diplomatic conflicts while coexisting. In addition, cartel forces may even attempt retaliatory attacks targeting Americans. If this situation unfolds, the justification of eradicating drug cartels will gradually fade, and the struggle for power in international politics and military tensions will take center stage. This issue could greatly affect United States domestic politics. Military intervention can boost domestic support, but may also spark backlash from anti-war sentiment or war costs. Especially as the election season approaches, or if the Trump administration faces a political crisis, there will likely be intense debate over whether the Trump administration's hardline policy toward Latin America is a purely security strategy or a move driven by political calculations. What are your thoughts on using military force against the herbal medicine cartel? Share in the comments. That's all for this video. Thank you.